John asked in my 400 subs video, can I review The Substance? And I had never seen The Substance. I didn't know much about The Substance going into it, but I did watch it, so here are my thoughts on it. Hi, my name is Nathan. I talk about a lot of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share what you thought of the movie The Substance over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And before we get straight into the review, just shout out to John for making me watch this movie, because it was kind of like a new experience watching this movie. I'll explain why later on in this video, and I'm glad that I saw this movie and that you introduced me to it, because I didn't really know much about it. I'd heard of it here and there, and the fun thing about this one is that I looked it up, and the release date of it was actually on my birthday of September 20th. So that's an interesting birthday movie that I didn't end up seeing. But I was able to see The Substance. I just saw it yesterday, as a matter of fact, as of the moment I'm shooting this video. So, shout out to John for causing this video to happen, and for making me watch The Substance on that video. With all that said, let's just get straight into it with the review. I'll just kind of do this in one take. I got all my thoughts down here. And this is just a very, very weird film that pops out, and I absolutely say that as a compliment. So, if you don't know what The Substance is, I didn't really know much about it going into it either. I knew it was about a substance, about a drug that somebody takes, but I didn't really know anything else other than that. So, the basic premise of this film is that there's an actress who feels like she's lost her beauty. And she lost her beauty, or at least she feels that way, because she gets fired from her show that she does, because the people that run the show want somebody younger, somebody hotter in the role of her show, and she gets let go. And distraught and frustrated, she goes and buys this. She gets a mysterious She gets like this mysterious file that she plugs into her TV and learns about The Substance, which is a drug that once you inject into yourself, a clone of you will sprout from your back. A younger, more hotter, more beautiful girl will spawn from your back. And so that's the basic premise. But the gimmick here is that every 7 days, the two have to switch bodies in order for it to be balanced, for it to work correctly. And so, but if you don't respect that balance, there are some dire things that happen, and that's exactly what the clone in this movie does, the younger clone in this film does. So that was kind of a weird way to explain what this movie is, but yeah, didn't really know that much going into it, but that's the basic premise of what it is. And this is just a very, very weird film that when you get like the clone sprouting from the back, it's already kind of weird, and it just progresses as you move forward. Like, every moment that on kind of progresses in how wild, bonkers, crazy that it goes, and up to the point where you get into like the third act. I don't want to go into spoilers about what happens in the third act, but there's this, it just goes crazy in the third act. It's like, it's full of blood, it's gory, it's violent, it's gnarly, and it's disgusting, all in the right ways that you want a body horror film like this to be like. And so I thought because of that, it had this very unique, distinct flair to it, as I've never quite seen anything like that. In a world where we get so much of the criticism, it feels like it was generated by AI. I would say that is something you absolutely cannot say about The Substance, because it is bonkers, it is wild, it is crazy. It absolutely just progresses in how weird it goes, and it's already pretty weird in the first 20 minutes. And so much of that goes down to the fact that we have some great performances from our two leads. You get Demi Moore as the actress that I was talking about, and Margaret Qualley as the clone that sprouts from her, and they just give out some great performances. Like when they're desperate, when they're depressed, you can actually feel it. You can see it in the emotions that they make and the actions that they do, especially with Demi Moore's character. Like, she sometimes throughout the movie, because the clone is kind of like abusing the system and how the substance works, she's losing her sanity, and she absolutely does display that, and it can be disturbing even without the body horror. And also some of that just goes down to the fact that it's the way it's shot that just kind of also stands out, where you get, even without the body horror, like I said, Demi Moore like loses her sanity throughout the entirety of this film. And just like kind of the designs of the things that happen especially in the second half. I don't want to go into spoilers or anything, but just like kind of the designs, they just look so off, so disturbing. Like, what am I looking at here? And it just does such a good job of that. And even without the body horror, even without the disturbing designs, just like, especially with Dennis Quaid's character, the way it's shot, sometimes like near the beginning of the movie, he's like eating prawns, eating shrimp, and it's like, it's kind of like you hear the crunch of the shrimp, it zooms in on his mouth, and you see like the spit coming, and it just like that sort of stuff, like, like, what am I watching? What am I looking at? And the sounds just like it's a bad ASMR video. Like, that's a bad comparison right there, but it is very much true when you're talking about this movie, The Substance. And like when he's smoking a cigarette, it zooms in on his mouth, smiling with his dirty teeth, and like, some of that just like it creates a sense of like unease in it, in a way that I haven't really seen body horror movies like this do. And I'm somebody that doesn't really get scared of horror movies. I don't scare easily. Whenever there's a jump scare in a horror movie in the theater or anything like that, when I'm watching a horror movie, I typically don't get jump scared unless it like absolutely comes out of nowhere, because it's so obvious when the jump scares come. This movie does not at all rely on jump scares. I don't think there's a single jump scare in this film, but just like the things that the characters do that are just like kind of disturbing gets under my skin just a little bit, I will admit. And it also, in addition to all that body horror and how it does things, how weird it gets, it also is able to have some commentary that I wasn't really expecting this movie to have, where it plays around with the theme of the beauty standards that people set upon themselves, where they're afraid to go out in public because they're ashamed of how they look. And it contrasts that to, that's very much a real thing that people go through, where they don't want to go out because of how they look, and end up adjusting their face, putting on extensive makeup, doing some plastic surgery, up to the point where they turn themselves into irrecognizable people, where they just make themselves look so much worse and are unable to accept how they look. And it kind of comments on those things that I just wasn't expecting from this film. And it kind of plays that out as sort of a tragedy, where our characters, or our lead character Demi Moore, it's very much the case with her, and it goes to extreme extents with this movie. Not to say that it's anywhere close to what happens in reality, but this movie just goes to extreme extents of what happens to Demi Moore's character. And so its commentary, it actually made it a lot more interesting than I was expecting it to be. Now, so that's all the good I have to say about this movie. If I had to say something negative about it, honestly, I just wish the movie was a little bit more accessible to me. It is a 2 hour and 20 minute long film, and the reason it's not just a movie that I would rewatch on my own is because a good 20-30% of it is just nudity, I will admit. A good 25%, a good chunk of it has extensive nudity in it, where, I don't tend to watch movies like this very often, and I don't know that I'd ever rewatch a movie like this, but it is just a film that oozes with such, it just pops out in your mind. Like, what's that weird movie that came out this year? The Substance. And so, you know, not entirely for me. I'm really not a body horror person, but I do think that this is a great kind of body horror film that we got this year. So overall, I will give it an A-. Shout out to John once again, because he was the one who kind of made me watch this movie, and now I get to talk about it. So those are my thoughts on The Substance. Down below in the comment section, share what you thought of The Substance over on my channel. There's more content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.